Hello everybody, my name's Ed Finch and I'm part of the group of people who look after the Read Along's Twitter account. Starting this Saturday, which is the 4th of April, we're going to be doing a read along of this book, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. It's a fantastic book. If you've not read it before, I think you're going to love it. If you have read it before, you maybe do already love it. If you want to take part in our chat, you're going to be looking for the hashtag NeverReads. Hopefully we'll be able to find each other on that if we remember to put that on our posts. It does make it easy to find them. It's possible, isn't it, with the situation that we have at the moment, that some of you can't get out to a bookshop, possibly. Amazon aren't being very quick, and some people don't like e-readers. I know that. I thought I would read you the book, chapter by chapter, and Neil has been really kind, and he's said that he's cool with people doing that, given the current circumstances. So I'm going to be doing a little read for you today. I'm going to read the prologue, and day by day, I'll be putting out fresh chapters. So if you can't get hold of the book and if you don't have access to an e-reader, you can at least listen to me. I'm no Gielgud, so I think you might do better to get hold of the Audible one if you can. But I'm here and I'm free. So I'm going to start off with reading you the prologue from Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. The night before he went to London, Richard Mayhew was not enjoying himself. He'd begun the evening by enjoying himself. He'd enjoyed reading the goodbye cards and receiving the hugs from several not entirely unattractive young ladies of his acquaintance. He had enjoyed the warnings about the evils and the dangers of London and the gift of a large white umbrella with the map of the London Underground on it that the lads had clubbed together to buy him. And he had enjoyed the first few pints of ale, but then, with each successive pint of ale, he found he was enjoying himself significantly less, until now he was sitting and shivering on the pavement outside the pub in a small Scottish town, weighing the conflicted merits of being sick and not being sick and not enjoying himself at all. Inside the pub, Richard's friends continued to celebrate his forthcoming departure with an enthusiasm that, to Richard's way of thinking, was beginning to border on the sinister. He sat on the pavement and held on tightly to the rolled-up umbrella and wondered whether going south of London was really a good idea. "You want to keep an eye out," said a cracked old voice. "They'll be moving you on before you can say Jack Robinson, or taking you in. I wouldn't be surprised." Two sharp eyes stared out from a beaky, grimy face. "Are you all right?" Yes, thank you," said Richard. Now, he was a fresh-faced, boyish young man with a dark, slightly curly hair and large hazel eyes. He had a rumpled, just woken up look, which made him more attractive to the opposite sex than he would ever understand or believe. The grimy face softened. "Here, poor thing," she said, and she pushed a 50-pence piece into Richard's hands. "How long you been on the streets, then?" "I'm not homeless," explained Richard, embarrassed, attempting to give the old woman her coin back. "Please, take your money, I'm fine. I just came out here to get some air. I'm going to London tomorrow," he explained. She peered down at him suspiciously and then took back her 50-pence and made it vanish beneath the layers of coats and shawls in which she was enveloped. "I've been to London," she confided. "I was married in London, but he were a bad lot. My mam told me not to go marrying outside, but I was young and beautiful, though you'd never credit it today, and I followed my heart." "I'm sure you did," said Richard, embarrassed. The conviction that he was about to be sick was starting slowly to fade. "Fat lot of good it done me. I've been homeless, I know it's like," said the old woman. "That's what I thought you was. What are you going to London for?" "I've got a job," he told her, proudly. "Doing what?" she asked. Securities," said Richard. "I was a dancer," said the old woman, and she tottered awkwardly around the pavement, humming tunelessly to herself. Then she teetered from side to side like a spinning top coming to rest, and finally she stopped facing Richard. "Hold out your hand," she told him. "I'll tell you a fortune." He did as he was told. She put her old hand into his and held it tightly, and then she blinked few times like an owl who had swallowed a mouse that was beginning to disagree with it. "You got a long way to go," she said, puzzled. "London," Richard told her. "No, not just London." The old woman paused. "Not any London I know." It started to rain then, softly. I'm sorry, she said. It starts with doors. Doors? She nodded. The rain fell a little harder, pattering on the roofs and on the asphalt of the road. I'd watch out for doors if I were you. Richard stood up a little uncertainly. All right, he said, a little unsure of how one ought to treat information of this nature. I will. Thanks. The pub door was opened and light and noise spilled out onto the street. Richard, you right? Yeah, I'm fine. I'll be back in a second. The old lady was already wobbling down the street into the pelting rain, getting wet. Richard felt he had to do something for her. He couldn't give her money, though. He hurried after her down the narrow street, the cold rain drenching his face and hair. Here, said Richard, and he fumbled with the handle of the umbrella, trying to find the button that opened it, and then a click, and it blossomed into a huge white map of the London Underground network, each line drawn in a different colour, each station marked and named. The old woman took the umbrella gratefully and smiled her thanks. You've got a good heart, she told him. Sometimes that's enough to see you wherever you go. And then she shook her head. But mostly it's not. She clutched the umbrella tightly as a gust of wind threatened to tug it away from her or to pull it inside out. She wrapped her arms around it and bent almost double against the rain and the wind. She walked away into the rain and the night, a round white shape covered with the names of London tube stations, Earl's Court, Marble Arch, Blackfriars, White City, Victoria, Angel, Oxford Circus. Richard found himself pondering drunkenly whether there really was a circus at Oxford Circus. A real circus with clowns and beautiful women and dangerous beasts. The pub door opened once more, a blast of sound as if the pub's volume control had just been turned up high. Richard, you wanker! It's your bloody party! You're missing all the fun! He walked back into the pub, the urge to be sick lost in all the oddness. You look like you're a drowned rat, said someone. You've never seen a drowned rat, said Richard. Someone else handed him a large whisky. Here, get that down you. That'll warm you up. You know you won't be able to get real Scotch in London. I'm sure I will, sighed Richard. Water was dripping from his hair into his drink. They have everything in London. He downed the Scotch, and after that someone brought him another, and then the evening blurred and broke up into fragments, and after that he remembered only the sense that he was leaving somewhere small and sensible that made sense, for somewhere huge and old that didn't, and vomiting interminably into a gutter flowing with rainwater somewhere in the small hours of the morning, and a white shape marked with strange coloured symbols like a little round beetle walking away from him in the rain. The next morning Richard got on the train to London for the 6-hour journey south that would bring him to the strange Gothic spires and arches of St Pancras Station. His mother gave him a small walnut cake that she'd made for the journey, and a thermos flask filled with tea, and Richard Mayhew went to London, feeling like hell. That's the prologue to Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. We'll be starting our read-along on Saturday, and just before then I'll put chapter 1 up, so if you've not got a chance to get hold of the book, you can have a listen and join in the conversations, at least after listening to me. Thank you. You've been very patient. See you soon.